Just how good was Roman Josi this year, and should he win the Norris? We'll tell you as we award him his season superlative on today's Locked On Predators podcast.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Predators podcast, and thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We are your free daily Nashville Predators podcast. We're a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to kick off this episode with a hello and how do you do to our Locked On Pred heads. Those are our everyday listeners who tune in to talk Nashville Predators hockey with us each and every day. We thank you for your support. We love that we get to spend just a little bit of your day with you. I'm Ann Kimmel. I'm a writer at Penalty Box Radio, and friends, I have a partner in crime.
You do. I'm Emma Lingen, and I'm the Predators site editor and reporter for the Hockey News.
So on today's show, Emma and I are turning from the forwards to the defensemen. We're going to continue awarding our season superlatives for the 2023-24 season. Today, we're going to take a close look at Norris Trophy nominated Roman Josi and his season. We're also going to talk about Dante Fabbro and the up and down season that he had as well. Before we dive into all that, want to let you know today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. All right, Emma, we have tackled the forwards. We have covered them. We are moving on to the blue line and talking about season superlatives for the 2023-2024 season. And of course, there is no better player to kick off this discussion about than the captain, Roman Josi. What a season for him. 82 games played, 23 goals, 62 assists, 85 points. Norris Trophy nominated season. Emma, what superlative are you awarding to Roman Josi for this season?
I feel like there are so many that we could come up with. I mean, one of them, and we'll get into it, I'm sure, when we talk about the Norris, but like most likely to be snubbed for the Norris Trophy, even though he more than deserves it.
Yep.
So that would probably be my honorable mention. The other one would probably be something along the lines of most likely to not actually be human. Like, we're going to find out one day that he's just like an incredibly lifelike superhuman, like superhero or robot or something. Because he just defies logic. He defies time. He defies all the laws of the universe and is just, he's an enigma, and in the best way. If that wasn't clear, he does all of this in the best way. And I mean all of this as the highest of compliments, because I love Roman Josi. I mean, I think there's something seriously wrong with you if you don't like Roman Josi. So
yeah,
there we go.
Roman Josi, I agree with you. He is an enigma because let's just be real, phenomenal hockey player. Phenomenal hockey player. He is really the backbone of the Nashville Predators team. And here's what's real. Roman Josi has every reason to walk around in life like a jerk because he's that good. I mean, there's really not anything Roman Josi doesn't have going for him. I mean, except he's not as attractive, according to PK Subban, as PK Subban.
Yeah, well, you're never going to win that battle with PK talking about himself. So
that is very true. But
no,
Roman
he has
Josi,
everything going for him. You're right.
Everything. And he is literally the nicest person in the world. Like, you keep thinking, if I was half of what Roman Josi was, you can bet I'd be an ass.
Oh yeah. God, like, he's nicer than I am, and I don't have half of what he has going for him. So I'm like, maybe because I'm just bitter. Maybe, you know what? Maybe I would just be happier with my life if I had everything going for me that he does for him, and I would just be a nicer person. I don't know. But I will say the one thing, and I am so grateful for this experience, the one thing that really humanized this man for me, because again, I was starting to really wonder, I'm like,
Is he real?
Show me a flaw. Show me one. 2022, beginning of the 2022 season, the Predators did the home run derby collab with Vanderbilt baseball.
Yes.
The man cannot swing a bat to save his life. And you know what? People are trying to give excuses like, oh, he's European. They don't play baseball. Philip Forsberg did just fine. Okay. So I'm just saying, like, I'm not going to use the European thing, as an excuse for him. It was like, thank God I found the one thing. And honestly, if you watch a video of Roman Josi swinging a bat, and that's all that, if that was all that I had seen of him, I could honestly say I have the same athletic ability as Roman Josi on the video alone. So sorry, Roman, sorry to put you on blast like this, but it was, sometimes I have to make myself feel a little bit better.
Oh yeah.
Okay. He's like 99.9% perfect, but that's just like the one thing he can't do.
Yep. His baseball skills. That's the hitch in Roman Josi's giddy up right there.
Correct.
Like there's his weakness.
Yep.
And we'll probably never see it again because
but again, he just like laughed it off, and he was such a good sport about it too, as only he could be. I'm like, ugh.
He's all good. He is all goodness. Like Roman Josi is the puppies and kittens and unicorns of hockey, on and off of the ice. He's so great.
Is that your superlative? The puppies and kittens and unicorns?
That should be my superlative. You know what's funny is you talk about there are so many to give him, and I just look at traditional superlatives, and you've got best all around. He's obviously class president, most likely to succeed. But if I was going to give him a unique one, I would say he is most likely to star as the male version in the movie Age of Adeline, because this dude does not age.
No,
he does not age. And when, he just celebrated his birthday, happy birthday to Roman Josi. But you keep thinking, okay, is this the season where Roman Josi starts to show kind of that age and decline? And I really think, is that ever going to happen for him? Because it just has not. This season was the second best season of his career. He tied his goal high from that 2021-22 season, 23 goals. His second best season in assists, second best in points, second best in power play goals. This is a guy who, he is like cheese. He gets better with age. He is the wine and cheese of the Nashville Predators. Better with age.
Wine and cheese pair nicely with potatoes. We have Mr. Potato Head. Sorry, I had to throw it in there. What was it? Not scary in the face. That was my other gem from that episode.
That episode was gold.
Roman Josi also not scary in the face. Can confirm. But yes. No, I mean, you talk about his season being one of the best of his career at age 32. He's now, as you said, he just turned 33. And we talk about all of his offensive stats, and that's a whole other conversation you can get into about whether or not the Norris Trophy should go to the best offensive defenseman, because that is kind of what it has come to be, and people have a lot of opinions on that. So that's neither here nor there. I just think if you look at his, yes, he's a fantastic offensive defenseman, 100%, but he's also fantastic in his own zone. I mean, first of all, he's 12th in the league. He finished this season 12th in the NHL in ice time per game. He was averaging over 24 minutes a game. He was first on the Predators with 151 block shots. That's insane to me. I think that, and he's making the diving saves, and that he had that great highlight reel glove save earlier in the year, that he just does everything. And he's I feel like I need people to know that I'm joking, because this is something that I do. But when I'm talking about how just perfect he is, I feel like I'm just ugh, gross. And I'm very much kidding. I'm very much being sarcastic. Ugh, he sucks. But no, I mean, again, he has had one of the best seasons of his career. And it was a season that, if you'll recall, by his standards, he kind of got off to a slower start. People were starting to worry about like, oh. And to be fair, pretty much the entire team got off to a slow start. So I don't think it's quite fair to put that on him. But again, like, I think that he is the, whatever, the wine, the cheese, the rainbows and unicorns. I don't know. He's all of that. And but then again, I think he's so underappreciated around the league. I mean, Andrew Brunette said it best, that it's like he's not the shiny new toy. Like he doesn't get the, the fanfare. It's like we just get so used to him performing at this elite level year after year after year. And it's like, okay, yes, this is not, I don't mean to take away from Cale Makar or Quinn Hughes or anyone else who, is up there in that elite defensive category in the NHL. To me, it's arguably more impressive for Roman because he's performing at this elite level at an older age. and it just keeps getting better, and he's not showing any signs of slowing down, which is why I said, like, I don't think he's human. Yeah. Except maybe when he tries to play baseball. That was maybe like a short circuit or something that happened there, but otherwise
less.
Yeah.
Less. See, we should have clipped that video so we could show it and be like, okay, look, he is.
I don't want to do that to him. I don't want to do that to him. I kind of felt bad.
Everybody YouTube it just on your own time, just to make yourself feel better.
That was when I first came to the Predators and I was working for the team. That was one of the first events that I covered, and like first non-hockey events that I covered. Right. And I felt really bad because I think I tweeted something about it. I truly don't remember what I said, but it was something along the lines of like, oh my God, I found his one flaw. And the tweet kind of took off in a way that I wasn't expecting. And then like, it was just making the rounds and I felt so bad. I was like, oh my God, this guy, I barely know Roman at this point. I was like, he's going to hate me or whatever. And clearly I didn't know him well enough because he like couldn't have been further from the truth. He's just like such a good sport about it. He's like, yeah, I mean, he's like, you're not wrong. Like, and I didn't even say anything bad. It was just like, oh my God, he is human. It's something like that. And bless him.
Coming up, we're going to take a look at Roman Josi's stats compared to the other defensemen in the league, talk about what are the odds he could win the Norris Trophy, and we're going to talk about Dante Fabbro and award him his season superlative. We're going to do that in just a moment. First, today's episode is brought to you by our great friends at Game Time. Look, Game Time is going to make getting those NBA Finals tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to tip off. That's where you want to go to check out those NBA final tickets. Game Time also has killer last minute deals, all in prices, views from your seat, and they have a low price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. If you're looking for some sports action a little closer to home, Game Time is a place to find tickets for Nashville Sounds games, the Savannah Bananas, Monster Jam, and of course, Nashville SC games. And if you are a last minute planner like I am, Game Time is your go-to for those great deals. They have last minute deals that can save you up to 60% off for sports, concerts, comedy, and theater. Game Time's all-in pricing shows you your total upfront with no hidden fees, and their low price guarantee means you get the lowest price in your section in row, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying NBA Finals tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, Emma, Roman Josi, Norris nominated defenseman again this season. So in the league among defensemen, this is where Roman Josi ranked the season. First in goals, fifth in assists, third in points, first in power play goals, tied for second in even strength goals, tied for third in even strength assists, first in game winning assists. He took the most shots of any defenseman this season. Is he going to win the Norris?
I hate this. I hate
I
that because
know.
I don't think he is, and he should.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I'm biased, but he should. I mean, right now, Vegas odds, depending on what sports book you're looking at, FanDuel, I think, has him at plus 1900. I've seen BetMGM, I think, has him at plus 2000. Like those are not good odds. Meanwhile, you know, you've got Quinn Hughes at minus 500, minus 600, and then Cale Makar is in the middle, like plus 350 or something like that. So that's what Vegas has to say. And I would like to say that respectfully, Vegas is wrong. I just, if you look at the mid-season turnaround that Josi had, taking into account the age, like his age, his value to his team. I mean, like I get upset talking about this because I absolutely think that he should win the Norris and he won't.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting when Andrew Brunette talked about the shiny new toy. He had a quote talking about the Norris Trophy nominations and kind of talking about Roman Josi. And I think there is something to that because in some ways it feels like these awards, the Norris, the Vezina, you know, those kind of awards are almost about crowning the next big thing instead of really looking at what happened in this particular season outside of anything else. I get why Quinn Hughes is kind of the front runner. I can see it, but I do think that there is something to that. These awards are about, let's bring out the next big thing. And let's face it, Roman Josi is not the next big thing. Roman Josi is an older defenseman. He is somebody who plays on a team that hasn't been to the Stanley Cup Finals since 2017, hasn't made a deep, you know, playoff run. And I think all of that factors into it as well. And it's a little bit frustrating because I do feel like this is a guy who deserves some serious consideration to win the Norris. And I love what you said about his start. You know, he really made lemonade out of lemons after a tough start. It took him 8 games to get his first goal. And Lord knows it wasn't, you know, not for trying, you know, but he really had to figure out in this new system what his role was going to be offensively, how, you know, to adjust defensively to what Andrew Brunette wanted. But then when you talk about a player really finding his stride and contributing to the success of his team, Roman Josi is that guy.
He is. And I think that, you know, you make a really good point about the fact that the Predators have not made a deep postseason run in several years. And that, yes, the Norris Trophy is a regular season award. So theoretically that shouldn't matter. But a lot of that does factor in, though, to the voting process and the decision making, because it does depend what team he's playing for, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if it's a team now, granted, last year was a little different. I mean, you had Erik Karlsson who was playing for San Jose. That, you know, maybe not quite the same, but I think that he was a bigger name, like big trade piece, you know, like
right.
a lot was, his name was out there a lot. And I think that plus he, to be fair, had an otherworldly season last year. So that's
right.
like, not to say it was not deserved, but I'm just saying that he's kind of the exception to the rule that, like, typically these awards go to the guys who are on playoff teams. Now the Predators were a playoff team this year, but like deep playoff teams or deeper playoff teams. I mean, both Vancouver and Colorado made it farther than Nashville did in the playoffs. And both of those guys, Makar and Hughes, they're younger guys and they're extremely talented, but it's kind of like you said, they're the next big thing. And their teams are more like, if you're just looking purely at, postseason success, their teams are more successful than the Predators are with Roman Josi on the team. And it's not to say that that's because of them or because of Josi, but it just, I truly believe if Roman played in a different market, he would be huge. Like his
Big
name,
star.
he would be one of the biggest stars of this league. And I mean, he has the talent, the skill, the charisma, I think, to be that now, but because he plays in Nashville, he's not. And so I don't mean that as a knock on Nashville as a city or as a market. I just think it's, again, like you said, the fact that they have not made a meaningful playoff run in a long time, and people kind of forget about the team, and then as a result kind of forget about him. So you're not watching him as much during the regular season as you would a guy like Quinn Hughes or Cale Makar,
Right.
because they play for the, I mean, look what Vancouver did. Like they, defied the odds kind of like the Predators did and made the playoffs this year. But then also Quinn Hughes is a younger guy. He's 24. And then you've got Cale Makar, also a younger guy. And those are like the names you hear all the time. So it's like, oh, I'm going to watch this guy this game because this guy's playing. And like, you just don't hear Roman Josi's name a lot outside of Nashville, which I think is a travesty. But I mean, it's the truth.
Yeah, I agree with you. It is a travesty. And especially when you look at this past season, what Roman Josi meant for the Nashville Predators in a season where I think they shocked everybody, including themselves, maybe a little bit. This was supposed to be, hey, we're going to take some steps back. The Predators made the postseason. They were competitive against Vancouver. It was a tough series. But you look at specifically, when I think about Roman Josi's season, we talked about kind of a rougher start, but let's talk about that 18-game point streak. Roman Josi was key in that. He had 24 points in 18 games, 8 goals. He had 6 multi-point games. That is the kind of player that you have to have on your team, especially right now when the Predators are in a reset. Barry Trotz talked about like Roman Josi is the guy that we are going to build this reset around, despite the fact that he's, 32, 33 years old. He is going to be a foundational player. And you saw during that 18-game point streak exactly what Roman Josi can do for this team, whether they are a deep cup contender or a team trying to get back to that. And it's frustrating because, again, feels like it's overlooked.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Because again, this shouldn't matter. It shouldn't be like, well, Hughes and Makar are going to be good for a long time, so they'll have their chance. Like I get the flaw in that argument too, but I think that it really just should go straight up to the best all around defenseman, like offensively, defensively, value to their team. And to me, I do not think, for a variety of reasons, I don't think that Quinn Hughes or Cale Makar are as valuable to their teams as Roman Josi is to the Predators.
I love that argument. I love that point, Emma. I absolutely agree that should be a factor in the Norris. I don't know that it is for the voters, but I absolutely agree that between those three, Roman Josi's role is very, very different, and what he contributed to the success of the team this season, very, very different than the other two. The other thing that I will say is we didn't see as much from Roman Josi in the postseason as we wanted to. And I think a lot of that credit has to go to Vancouver. I don't necessarily think it was like, hey, Roman Josi, you didn't bring your A game. Again, it sucks, but you got to give props to Vancouver because Vancouver did a great job in that series, really shutting down Nashville's top offensive weapons. And that included Roman Josi, had 1 goal, 2 assists in 6 games. Didn't see as much from him in the postseason as we would have wanted to. But again, don't think that's the fault of maybe Roman Josi didn't step up. I think Vancouver just had a really good game plan for shutting down Nashville's offensive weapons.
I mean, Yeah, because they also shut down Philip Forsberg and Ryan O'Reilly and Gus Nyquist. Like, they shut down
Yes.
every one of their big scoring threats. So absolutely, you have to give the credit to them. And I mean, that's what you do. You go after, like, you identify who the top performers are on the opponent and you try to shut them down. I mean, Nashville did a pretty good job shutting down Quinn Hughes. I mean, they were going after him too, and just really, they were beating on him a lot.
Yeah.
He took a beating in that series. And I think that Vancouver did to Josi what Nashville did or tried to do to Hughes. And I mean, understandably, because that is one of your biggest threats. And so you got to shut him down. So it was a really great defensive effort by them.
Yeah. Coming up, we're going to talk about another defenseman that we saw a lot less than Roman Josi. What did we think of Dante Fabbro's season, and what is next for him when it comes to the Predators' blue line? All right, Emma, we have talked about Roman Josi, the captain, who may or may not be a cyborg. We are not 100% sure. We're going to talk about Dante Fabbro. And this season is his season is one of the most interesting for me to try to piece it together. 56 games played, 3 goals, 13 points. This was his lowest average time on ice since his first 4-game season in 2018-2019. It was not what I think we anticipated. His role just wasn't what we're used to seeing from Dante Fabbro. So if you have to award him a season superlative, what are you giving Dante Fabbro?
So this is one where I'm going to need you to come on this journey with me, because it's not going to be
ahead.
It's not going to be evident right away. It requires explanation.
Okay.
It's not, you can't take it at face value. So my superlative for Dante would be the most likely to be put in timeout and then forgotten about after you put him in timeout, because that almost kind of happened to him this year when he was benched. And then it was like, oh yeah, we still have him. And,
Right.
But I think though, and I realize the reason I'm saying come on this journey with me is because I realize at face value that makes it sound like he is a very forgettable player and he is not valuable. And that is not my intent with that superlative. What I mean by that is he honestly, I love Dante Fabbro. I think that he is a very underrated part of this team. I think that but again, kind of like the Roman Josi shiny toy argument, not saying he's Roman Josi at all, but you're just so used to him always being there that you don't really think of him yes, okay, when he was drafted, he was really hyped up because he was a defenseman that liked to join the offensive attack. And we're thinking okay, we're getting Roman Josi 2.0. We're going to see, a ton of goals. That has not turned out to be the case at the NHL level. I think Dante has never quite taken off offensively the way that a lot of people would have hoped or expected. But defensively, he is so good in his own zone. He's so reliable. He's very disciplined. He can move the puck, even if he's not always putting it in the back of the net. He's still joining the rush. He's joining the attack, and he can move the puck very well. And he can play throughout the lineup. I mean, we see him on a pair with Roman Josi all the time. He does extremely well in that role. And then you can put him down on the third pair with whoever the sixth defenseman is, and he works well there. And I think that, to me, he's a guy that, again, is almost, his reliability is almost a curse to the point where you kind of forget about him, that it's okay, if he screws up, because again, love Dante. I feel like he doesn't make a lot of mistakes, but when he does make a mistake, it's usually a very glaring one. And I think that it's unfortunate because people like to hyperfixate on that one mistake. Oh, Dante Fabbro sucks. And it's okay, that was a very bad mistake, bad play for sure. But because it's so glaring, it's an own goal or something that people like to fixate on. and say like, oh, we can't rely on him. But it's like for every one thing that he does wrong, he does like 15 things right that don't get appreciated, I don't think, defensively, especially because again, people like offense, right? They like goals, and he doesn't provide that. So it's like, well, what does he do? I just think that he is just so reliable. And you know, that happened earlier in the year where he actually got off to a pretty good start, and he got healthy scratched by Andrew Brunette, and then he kind of sat on the bench for a while to the point where you're kind of like, oh yeah, like this guy.
We've got this extra guy.
Yeah, because it's like kind of like, you know, different things going on though with the defense. And again, if you're talking about you need to shore up the defense in Nashville, I mean, like, I think that he is a really reliable presence to have on the back end, even if, you know, his offensive numbers aren't anything to write home about. I mean, even this year, though, I mean, to be honest, he played in 23 fewer games this year than last year, but he scored more goals, more assists, more points. He had a +9. Like,
which is good. Yep.
Yeah. And I don't know. I think that I think he's a really good utility player. Like if he were a baseball player, he'd be like the utility guy. He could play anywhere in the infield, like maybe catch if you need him to. Like, I just think he's one of those guys that like you plug him anywhere in the lineup and he will be Dante Fabbro. You know what you're going to get from him. And to me, that reliability is very valuable, but it kind of means that sometimes he gets forgotten in the timeout corner.
You had this kind of backlog in the blue line, and he was out, and you almost forget because he doesn't necessarily have like the standout thing like Lazon with the hits, or, you know, Josi obviously with, you know, the offensive upside, or Ryan McDonagh with, you know, just some of that quality defensive play. But that doesn't mean that he's not a valuable piece for the Nashville Predators. But I think I agree with you. I think he is easily maybe overlooked. But the key for me, even though he's easily overlooked, and you touched on this, you can put Dante Fabbro anywhere. And I think going forward, especially as there's this turnover with McDonagh gone, and is Alexander Carrier going to be back? And of course, Tyson Barrie, that's a whole thing, you know, and you have young players coming up. Dante Fabbro may be a little bit of a secret sauce for Nashville if he can get in the lineup and stay in the lineup, because he is kind of that old faithful, reliable defensive player that you have to have. You know, he's not going to get nominated for the Norris, y'all. He's not going to get nominated for the Norris, but you need that reliable guy that you can plug in almost anywhere, especially with the transition that the Predators are going to go through defensively as well. So I'm with you, like, easily overlooked, but adds value.
I think we forget, or at least I forget sometimes, how young he is because he's been in the NHL for so long. Dante Fabbro is 25 years old. Like, it feels like he should be at least like 27, 28 by now. And so he's like, I don't know, it's like the youngest veteran on the team, it feels like. But he, you know, I think that he is a super reliable guy. He's a perfect seventh defenseman. You might maybe start him in a more elevated role as you get younger guys or new guys who come in, and you got to kind of figure out where they go. I think he is the perfect Mr. Reliable to just have, and you can kind of move him anywhere, like I said, and you're still going to get the same Dante.
It'll be interesting to see Dante Fabbro's future with the Nashville Predators. Changes on the blue line again coming up next season. Let's see how Andrew Brunette opts to use him and what he does with the ice time he is potentially given next season as well. Coming up later this week, we're going to continue through our defenseman season superlatives. We're going to take a look at Jeremy Lauzon. We're going to take a look at former Predator Ryan McDonagh's season as well. Before we wrap up this episode, though, Emma, tell everyone where they can find you on social media and where can they find your work.
You can find me on social media, Twitter and Instagram at Emma_Lingen, same handle, both places. And you can find my work at the Hockey News.
You can find me on social media at @AnnK_Mama on Ice. You can find my work at Penalty Box Radio as well. That's going to do it for today's episode of the Locked On Predators podcast. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We will be back tomorrow with an all-new episode. We'll see you then.